done.
Kendall, the taste of quality. Sagicor Group, building trust one generation at a time.
Flow, NCB, Arc Manufacturing,
Water, JN Group, Lasco Chin Foundation,
Pan Jamaica Group,
Miss Birdie, H&L Homes,
and VM Group. Tonight, we focus on the leaders. Our moderator is Archibald Gordon.
Good evening. Welcome to the final of 3 general election debates organized by the Jamaica Debates Commission, staged before a live studio audience. The debates are intended to assist in identifying, clarifying, and understanding the issues being presented in this general election campaign. This evening's debate focuses on the leaders. Members of the panel of questioners are Dion Jackson Miller, Radio Jamaica 94 FM. And Giovanni Dennis, CVM TV. Taking and presenting questions from the public is our social media editor, Amoy Harriott, from CVM TV. I am your moderator, Archibald Gordon. As is customary, the audience is not to applaud the debaters except for now, after we announce each debater. Tonight, representing the People's National Party is party leader Mr. Mark Golding. Representing the Jamaica Labour Party is party leader Dr. Andrew Holness. The guidelines for tonight's debates have been previously agreed and are posted on the Debate Commission's website at www.jamaicadebatescommission.org. The guidelines include questions being no longer than 30 seconds, and each debater is allowed 90 seconds to respond to each question, and rebuttals are limited to 45 seconds. The questions posed in tonight's debate will come from 2 sources. The first source is you, the public. Send us your questions via direct message on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to Jamaica Debates. These will be checked, selected, and asked by our social media editor. The second source of questions is from our panel of journalists. Questions are not influenced by the Jamaica Debates Commission in any way. Our sign language interpreters tonight are Dorothy Williams and Terrian Bernard from the Caribbean Christian Center for the Deaf. Based on a previous coin toss, our first question tonight comes from Dion Jackson Miller of the RGR Group, and it will be directed to Dr. Andrew Holness.
Dr. Holness, government members have recommended taking the Auditor General off the Integrity Commission. There have been changes made by your administration to the Office of Political Ombudsman that have virtually destroyed its effectiveness as a check on the behavior of politicians. And there have been constant attacks by members of your administration on the Integrity Commission and on media and civil society groups that criticize your administration. Shouldn't Jamaicans be concerned about what appears to be a pattern by your administration of undermining oversight bodies in the public sector, civil society, and media?
There is absolutely no attempt by my administration and indeed myself to undermine any oversight body. Indeed, we have acted to strengthen and make them far more efficient. In placing the oversight of the political ombudsman under the office of the Electoral Commission, that's a move to strengthen and give it far more institutional framework. I myself have been very complimentary and acted in a very dignified way as it relates to the Integrity Commission.
Mr. Golding will have the opportunity to respond.
There has been a definite pattern of hostility from the Jamaica Labour Party government towards the institutions mentioned in the question, in particular the Integrity Commission, largely because it is well known that there are at least 10 members of Parliament who are under investigation for illicit enrichment, a serious corruption offence, of which the only one to be known is the one for whom a report has been completed and sent to the Parliament, which is you, Andrew. As a result of that, they have done their very best to try to neuter that critical institution, including the Prime Minister bringing that institution to court to undermine its effectiveness and indeed eliminate it entirely.
Our next question comes from Giovanni Dennis, and it goes to Mr. Mark Golding.
Mr. Golding, Keith Duncan says the PNP's proposal to increase the income tax threshold to 3.5 million is impractical and impossible to fund without new taxes. Can you explain how these planned tax breaks will work without hurting the economy?
The context in which we have decided to increase the threshold to 3.5 million is the hollowing out of the middle class in this country. Working families finding it extremely difficult to make ends meet. And we believe with the debt to GDP ratio having now, after 13.5 years of belt tightening and austerity, having now reached the cusp of the target of 60% of GDP introduced into the fiscal rules in law under Portia Simpson Miller, this is a time, this year it's expected to actually, with the readjustment of the definition and calculation of GDP, this is the year that we expect to achieve that target. That will release 2.5% to 3% of GDP of additional resources, which were not previously budgeted for in the fiscal policy paper. That is more than sufficient to pay for our entire program, including the $3.5 million increase to 3.5 million of the tax threshold, which will make our civil servants and our middle managers and indeed most of Jamaicans who are presently suffering under the high burden of the cost of living have money that they can spend, they can fix up their homes, extend their homes with a room, buy a car if they don't have one, pay down debt where they may be in arrears. It is necessary to preserve the country from brain drain and to keep the society intact.
Dr. Holness now has the opportunity to respond.
The hollowing out of the middle class is an act of the PNP. They totally decimated the middle class. It is a Jamaica Labour Party that introduced the increase in the non-tax threshold that recreated a middle class in Jamaica. In fact, when you look at the salary profile of PAYE contributors, you would see that their salaries have all risen. It is a Jamaica Labour Party through the compensation review that has increased salaries by over 200 billion Jamaican dollars for public sector workers. The current proposal of the PNP is unworkable.
It's now time for a question from social media. We're going to Amoy Harriot.
Thanks, Archie. Our first social media question tonight comes from Instagram. Shania in Kingston. She says, low voter turnout of a democratic society. Many Jamaicans refuse to vote because voters. And if elected, how will you hold politicians accountable for offenses against the people?
Strong leadership. From my position as Prime Minister, I have taken action against any man.
Me good work. What me do? PF. Me do more than politician in a Mountain View. No politician build so much house there. Me build not only in a Mountain View, me build house me go
with
different communities.
An expert forensic auditor. The findings of that report have suggested no corruption. There have been no charges. Every aspect of my report, every aspect of my personal life, my personal financial details are in the public domain. I am the politician about which Jamaica knows the most. And therefore, I am the politician who can stand with the greatest moral authority to treat with any matter that is considered corrupt, as I have done in the past. And I want to give this assurance to the Jamaican people that you know me, you know about me, you can trust me, and you know that I stand against corruption.
Mr. Golding has the opportunity to respond to that social media question as well.
Andrew, what they know about you is that you have 28 bank accounts, that you received several $1 million in cash deposits from anonymous donors in your bank account, that your companies had transactions of over $400 million, several thousand transactions between them, and that Positive Jamaica Foundation, a non-profit which you are intimately connected with, provided resources which you use for personal investments through your personal company. We have signed the Leadership Code of Conduct developed by Integrity Commission. All of our spokespersons and myself have signed. None of your people have signed it. I am committed to ensuring that all members of the executive, when we form government, will have their Integrity Commission declarations published, not just the leader of the opposition and what should happen, but hasn't happened in your case because you're not certified, the Prime Minister. So the whole question that has been asked is an excellent question, and we really need to step up our vigilance against corrupt behavior, nepotism and cronyism. The volume of scandals under this Jamaica Labour Party government is unprecedented. Over the number of ministers who have had to be removed from frontline duty, many of them parked in the naughty corner in OPM rather than being sacked. It is a disgrace to the country, and your personal situation where you're operating under a deep cloud because your Integrity Commission declarations are not certified also is something which Jamaica cannot go forward with.
We'll now take a short break and we invite you to stay tuned.
I go downtown, I go this up, and we have a house in a center, and if the girl never name half the money, if the girl never eat half the money, can me tell her start it, and make me come back, come see so me can finish it, and she me talk buy big liquor, and me bigger man, bigger and do all kind of something. Me refurbish much people house. Miss Angela, she name Angela. Andrea, I remember what she name. She get a full house makeover. The Perrys them get a furniture night to get a full house makeover. Mr. Perry house is a brand new house, can strip it down from bottom to top. And all you can do, when you see people are sending their money to me, oh, she a scam. She a scam. I wish she get money by X6, a donor's money. My YouTube check your time can buy me all 10 X6. I tell you that. I'm not a fool. Yeah? I'm not sit down on YouTube and waste out my time. I get proper pay over there. My business, my cake. Can buy me any amount of vehicle. I'm humble myself. I'm sit down. big up me YouTuber over Portmore, make me know about YouTube. Him below so to me and say, I might, when me get black, we have to pick them out off of Facebook. And him tell me, ask me if he come in, him say, he go surprise me. Him said to me, say, my lady, me not tell them also me build over Elsha Heights a year. Can't take me use and build it and see there, you can't make no money. Come over YouTube, big up yourself. And so me know say, I wish you could have make people know you. Because you're clean-hearted youth, you know, bad mind. You said, go build your own channel. Me go draw back my channel and make you make money. Because you cannot put in work, so much work. And make me build a house out of you and me, because you can't have nothing. So you see me here, so. And my honesty bring me here. Me get sponsorship. Me be brand ambassador for companies. When me a father and they parent before me born. Me good work. What me do? Pay off. Me do more than politician in a Mountain View. No politician build so much house there. Me build not only in a Mountain View, me build house. Me go different communities. But me go downtown. Me go there so. And when we have a house in a center and if the girl never name half the money. If the girl
The Jamaica Debates Commission, in association with Scotiabank, for every future. Kendall, the taste of quality.
Sagicor Group, building trust one generation at a time.
Flow, NCB, Arc Manufacturing, Water, JN Group,
Lasco Chin Foundation,
Pan Jamaica Group, Miss Birdie,
H&L Homes,
and VM Group. Watch, listen, decide, vote.
Welcome back to the Leaders' Debate presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. We invite you, the public, to send us your questions via direct message on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to Jamaica Debates. We now ask Dion Jackson Miller to start this segment with a question for Mr. Mark Golding.
Going back to the income tax proposal, Mr. Golding, because several people have been taking issue with your numbers. The PNP's assertion that it can fund the proposal through projected revenue growth doesn't seem to take into, as well as organic revenue growth, doesn't seem to take into account increase in in expenditure that's also projected, as well as low growth rates that no government in recent years has managed to overcome. Isn't it true that your numbers just don't add up?
The fiscal policy paper does project over the next 3 years some $160 billion of additional revenue. The degree to which there are accompanying expenses will depend on how we manage the expense side of the budget. There's also the fact that there are $360 billion of programs in the budget that represent the priorities of a given government at a particular point in time. When we are elected, we're not going to be elected to maintain the current trajectory that Jamaica is on. People want to see change. And most fundamentally, the issue really is the fact that we are coming to the end of the period of austerity, the period where Jamaica has been for 13 and a half years, steadfastly paying down debt, so that the debt to GDP ratio, which we inherited at 147% of GDP at the beginning of 2012, is now, in this fiscal year, projected to achieve the target of 60% of GDP. Once that happens, we no longer have to reduce debt as a priority. We just have to maintain that debt profile. That will release resources of 2.5% to 3% of GDP, which is close to $90 billion of additional resources, which no longer have to be part of your primary surplus target. So we will be able to fund our program quite comfortably come April next year, when the fiscal year starts.
Dr. Holness,
there is a song which says, when the rum tells you you're a big dancer. I don't know what the leader of the opposition was drinking. Firstly, the debt to GDP for this fiscal year is not projected to be 60%. It is projected to be 65% thereabouts. If the leader of the opposition is depending on growth to provide the revenues for $75 billion of expenditure, the country would have to grow between 8 and 10%, which has not done that since the 60s. Thirdly, yes, there are $300 billion of programs. What are these programs? Pharmaceuticals.
Thank you, Dr. Holness. Thank you, Dr. Holness. Our next question is from Giovanni Dennis, and it goes to Dr. Holness.
Dr. Holness, you said on February 7, 2016 in Sam Sharp Square, Montego Bay, within our first 100 days in government, we will start the legislative process to fix the general election date in Jamaica. It's been 3,490 days since. In your May 2016 budget debate, you further stated the country should not be distracted by protracted periods of uncertainty. Yet, that's exactly what happened with this year's election. After 2 consecutive terms in office, you have failed to deliver on this promise. Why?
Your research into this matter, I respect the question, is incomplete. At the calling of the 2020 general elections, I explained to the public in Parliament that our government actually started work on fixed election date, and we found that it was inconsistent with our constitutional arrangements. And therefore, we did not include it in our 2020 manifesto. It is no longer a part of our platform. More to that, however, is the fact that in seeking to have all of these previous considerations included, we went about putting in place a constitutional reform commission that would bring all the considerations for constitutional reform under an expert review. That expert review was thwarted by the opposition. So, yes, these considerations were considered from 2016, but the reality of our constitutional arrangement made us take a different route, which is to go to a comprehensive constitutional reform, which was frustrated by the opposition.
Over to Mr. Golding to respond.
Just before I respond, just to point out that Mr. Holness's data is not current. The Fiscal Commissioner issued a release, I think it was today actually, indicating that with the National System of Accounts being updated, GDP has been adjusted, and we're now at 62% of GDP. That's what the debt is at the end of March this year, and we will more than likely achieve 60% this fiscal year. No, please, you're not entitled to do that. The flip-flopping from the Prime Minister is manifest. They were supposed to have impeachment there's no impeachment. Fixed election day, no fixed election day. Ring fencing the NHT, they have taken over $130 billion out of the NHT. Cannot be trusted.
Just reminding that there is a format to the debate and asking the debaters to respect the format to which they have agreed. It's now time to go to the next question. Social media. Amoy Harriet, over to you.
This question comes from Janine. Parliament has passed a constitutional amendment bill and a referendum bill to transition Jamaica into a republic. Could you clarify the economic and administrative implications of this transition and how you intend to ensure that the process doesn't distract from Jamaica's economic priorities like debt reduction, investment diversification, and public services?
That question goes to Mr. Golding first and then to Dr. Holness.
In answer to the question, we can whistle and ride. So we have done very well as a nation in reducing our public debt. We ensured that the fiscal rules were very strong with an algorithm, an equation in the fifth schedule to the Financial Administration Audit Act that determines the fiscal balance that must be hit by each year's budget, and that has ensured that successive governments have stayed on course to take it down to 60%. We can do constitutional reform. Critical issues, and we have achieved that consensus yet on the critical issue of decolonization, in particular our final court, which is now the Privy Council, the King's Court, that makes orders in the name of the King, as opposed to the regional court, which has been established, the Caribbean Court of Justice, which Jamaica helped to design, helped to fund, and which has developed over the last 20 years a reputation for independence and excellence. There are aspects of the bills that are in Parliament now that we have big problems with. In particular, the fact that effectively it will allow the Prime Minister to appoint the President, because a simple majority of both houses will do it if we do not agree who that person is. I think that is wrong. I think that the President of the country must command the trust and confidence of both sides of the political aisle and indeed the wider public.
Dr. Holness?
To be clear, the bills before Parliament do not give the Prime Minister the ability to appoint the President. We are the party that have advanced the greatest, the process of repatriating our sovereignty. I am a Jamaican through and through, and I want to see my country's sovereignty represented by a Jamaican. It puzzles me as to why the opposition is trying to frustrate this. The opposition says we must always consult the people, yet they do not want to consult the people on a fundamental architecture of our society, our final court of appeal. They are inconsistent, they are hypocritical, flip-floppers. They were the ones who nudged, encouraged, and agreed with the government that a process should be started for the repatriation of our sovereignty. Midway the process, they have turned around to say they have challenges with it. What is it that they really want? Are you truly a Jamaican?
It's time for our next question. It is from Dion Jax Miller, and it goes to Mr. Golding.
Mr. Golding, the PNP is promising a tax break for small businesses for the first 3 years of formally incorporating, as well as a raft of other targeted tax relief measures. How do you respond to criticisms that your tax plan reintroduces inefficiencies, tax avoidance, and corruption into the tax system that have been eliminated over the past 15 years?
First of all, I think the Prime Minister repeated innuendo or direct attack which has been leveled by his party on my nationality. And, you know, I just wanted to just make it absolutely clear that I am indeed born here as a Jamaican. Here is my birth certificate, and it shows I was born at the University Hospital on July 19th, 1965, and it's right here. I hope your camera can pick it up. And I have a copy for you, Prime Minister, right here. And I wish you could provide me with a copy of your certification, but of course you can't do so. Now, on the question of tax, there's a third schedule to the GCT Act now, which has a long list of items which are not subject to GCT that are exempt. We feel that laptops and other devices are critical tools of trade, and it is wrong to tax them, and we are going to add them to that list. And similarly, sports equipment, which is vital for social cohesion. Sports is a critical part of keeping young people away from straying down the wrong path and so on. Why are we taxing those items? The cost of living is already high. So I don't agree. The system we have already caters for items which should not be taxed. And we're simply saying we want to adjust those items to include things that should be there but are not yet there.
Dr. Holness?
The Labour Party is the only political organization to have reduced taxes. We reduced the GCT from 16.5% to 15%. And we have done so in a way that has not compromised our revenues or the sustainability of future programs. All, and I repeat, all the tax suggestions and promises of the opposition will compromise our fiscal arrangements and place us back in debt or result in increased taxes. The best way to provide social services is to identify the persons who need it.
Thank you, Dr. Holness. Our next question is from Giovanni Dennis, and it goes to Dr. Holness.
The Rio Cobre is a major water source for the St. Catherine Plains and communities in and around Spanish Town. Yet, since 2019, under your watch as Environment Minister, there have been close to a dozen chemical spills, causing fish kills and disrupting lives. You say you're a champion of the environment. Why hasn't there been tougher sanctions for the repeated breaches of environmental permits by the companies culpable?
The Jamaica Labour Party has put in very tough sanctions, including the requirement for the provision of bonds. We are the only government to have called these bonds and brought polluters to court. We have also started the process of studying the Rio Cobre to ensure that there is no discharge into the Rio Cobre. And this is something that I am personally very serious about, and we will put in legislation to end discharge into the Rio Cobre. It becomes even more important as we have now put in place the Content Rio Cobre water project, for which we are pulling 15 million gallons of water from the Rio Cobre per day. So we must protect that asset, and I give the public my sincere commitment that we will protect the Rio Cobre.
Mr. Golding?
Quickly, just to say that the JLP is not the only party to have reduced taxes. The PNP reduced the personal income tax rate from 33.33% to 25%. We reduced the GCT rate from 17.5% to 16%. There's been reductions of taxes on both sides. They plan to reduce, they say, income tax from 25 to 15, which is going to help the rich and the ministers who pay themselves 200+% pay increases. On the environmental issue, you are the one who overturned NEPA's decision not to grant a permit for the mining of the Dry Harbour Mountains, which is a very sensitive nature reserve. You're flip-flopping again, Andrew.
Our next question is from social media. Over to Amoy Harriot.
Well, Archie, Delanore says many Jamaicans would like to see the full rollout of body-worn cameras on our police officers, even more so now given the increase in fatal police shootings. Will this be something that you'll prioritize should you be elected?
Mr. Golding will respond first.
First of all, I think it's very important to acknowledge and commend the excellent work done by the police force over the last year and a half in bringing the rate of violent crime, in particular murders in the country, down from the intolerable levels where it had been under this government. More murders committed in Andrew Holness's 2 years in office than any other two-year term in the history of Jamaica. The police have finally abandoned the failed policies that we did our best to stop, the mass use of states of emergency, which the court has ruled as unconstitutional, and have gone now to a much more targeted approach, a much more strategically sound approach. Having said that, we do feel that it's very important that the public as a whole must have trust and confidence in the police, because the police rely on intelligence and information from the public. And therefore, if the public feel that there's excessive use of force and there's no accountability for it, they're not going to be as cooperative as we need them to be. I think, therefore, it's in the interest of the Jamaican society and the police themselves to have the benefit of body-worn cameras, especially when they go on special operations, so there can be no question, nobody can accuse them wrongly of having used excessive force when the force was legitimate as used. And to the extent that there may occasionally be an excessive use of force, the persons are held accountable for that in accordance with the law. That's what the rule of law requires.
Dr. Holness?
The government is already in the process of procuring and acquiring body-worn cameras. Several thousands of them are under procurement and will be deployed shortly to the police force. We consider this as absolutely important in giving confidence to the public regarding the actions of the police force. And the police themselves want to have these cameras as protection for themselves. Interestingly, however, the leader of the opposition states that the states of public emergency did not work. Now, murders under the PNP increased to over 1,000 murders in 1997 and remained there for over 30 years. It is the Jamaica Labour Party in 3 consecutive years that have reduced murders by 55%. The states of public emergency worked. The states of public emergency were supported by the PNP when Peter Phillips was the leader of the opposition, and it reduced murders by 27%. Since we did not have the cooperation of the opposition, murders went up. A question must be asked: who is responsible for the increase in murders when there was a tool that could have saved lives? It is a serious question.
No, Giovanni Dennis has indicated that he would like to ask one of his 2 follow-up questions. I believe that question will go to
Mr. Golding.
Mr. Golding.
Mr. Golding, I want to go back to the matter of your dual citizenship. It took days for you to confirm that you held dual citizenship and weeks for you to renounce it. Why didn't you acknowledge the issue upfront, and why should Jamaicans believe you will be forthcoming with them on any issue, even if it's uncomfortable in the first instance?
I didn't hesitate to acknowledge dual citizenship. I was born in Jamaica. I had a British father, and I inherited British citizenship by descent from him. And that's lawful under the laws of Jamaica, and indeed parliamentarians in Jamaica are permitted to be dual nationals. I therefore didn't consider it to be something which was problematic. However, when it was raised last year and politicized, I decided I want to know what the Jamaican people felt about it, because I thought really my response ought to be driven by them. We did an internal poll. It showed that a majority thought I should renounce, and so I did. And I renounced my British citizenship in August last year.
Dr. Holness, rebuttal.
You know, this is a strange one. A man who wants to represent his country must choose his country. He doesn't need to ask anyone. He should choose. And that's why we say we choose Jamaica. It is indeed of concern that it was not until your 40s, when you were becoming a minister of government, that you sought to have a Jamaican passport. It is not your birth that makes you Jamaican. It is the choices you make for your country, including supporting a process that would make a Jamaican head of state here, including getting a Jamaican passport.
Our next question is from social media. Over to Amoy, and that question will go to Mr. Golding.
On TikTok, Taj says, given the current negotiations surrounding the U.S. Keep Call Centers in America Act and its potential to impact over 50,000 Jamaican BPO workers, how does your administration plan to safeguard both employment and livelihoods for young Jamaicans if outsourcing opportunities decline?
That's a good question, and the truth is that the evolution of technology, especially the advent of artificial intelligence, is also a threat to the type of services that are provided through outsourcing. So we are going to have to ensure that we try and upskill our existing workforce so that they can be trained to do the type of tasks that technology isn't going to be as adept at dealing with as human beings. And we also have to provide other avenues for employment for young people. That's why we're going to establish the Youth Innovation Fund, which will provide grants and loans to young people to get them into business if they want to get into business. And it will enable them to pursue their talents in tech or in creative industries or any other area of endeavor so that they can express themselves, help to monetize their talent and build brand Jamaica. And so those are the types of things that need to be done. We also want to emphasize training and the role of the private sector in training. We'll be giving an incentive, a dollar-for-dollar matching of all businesses who invest in upskilling and training. We will match their investment through the HEART program to encourage them to invest further in training and upskilling the workforce so they can employ more people in higher paying jobs. Right now, too many of our people are struggling in low-income jobs, low-wage jobs, low-tech jobs.
The same question goes to Dr. Holness.
Well, let me give you some practical and real answers instead of airy-fairy stuff. Jamaica is already positioning itself for nearshoring and friendly shoring of the recalibration of the global supply chain. And that is why we have made a massive investment in the Caymana's development and in Raintree. These are real investments that will bring production to Jamaica and jobs to Jamaica. We have already started to ensure that over 120,000 Jamaican youths can access training free of cost under HEART. And much of that training is in support of not just BPO, but logistics. But more than that, we saw the change in technology coming and the impact it would have. And that is why we have invested in a coding and technology academy, the Amber Heart Academy, where hundreds of Jamaican youth are trained in not just the basics, but as high up as data science. Because what we want to create in our society are the trained skills that can attract the jobs that we are already negotiating for. You have a government that understands the changing global dynamics.
Thank you, Dr.
and putting
Holness.
in place measures to take advantage of it.
We'll now take a short break and we invite you to stay tuned.
The general elections debates are presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. Watch, listen, decide.
Me do more than politician in a Mountain View. No politician build so much house there. Me build not only in a Mountain View, me build house, me go different communities. But me go downtown, me go there so, and me have a house in a center and if the girl never name half the money. If the girl never eat half the money, can me tell her start it. And make me come back, come see so me can finish it. And she me talk buy big liquor and me bigger man, bigger and do all kind of something. Me refurbish much people house. Miss Angela, she name Angela. Angela, I remember what she name. She get a full house makeover. The Perrys them get a furniture and to get a full house makeover. Mr. Perry house is a brand new house, can me strip it down from bottom to top. And all you can do, when you see people are send their money to me, oh, she a scam. She a scam. And when she get money by X6, a donor's money, my YouTube check your time can buy me all 10 X6. I tell you that. I'm not a fool. Yeah? I don't sit down on YouTube and waste out my time. I get proper pay over there. my business, my cake, can buy me any amount of vehicle. I'm humble myself. I'm sit down. Big up me YouTuber over Portmore, make me know about YouTube. Him below so to me and say, I might, when we get black, we have to pick them out off of Facebook. And him tell me, ask me if he come in and say, I'm going to surprise me. Him said to me, say, my lady, I'm not going to lie, my house, I build over Elsha Heights a year. Can't take me use and build it and see that you can't make no money. Come over YouTube, big up yourself. And some know say, yeah, I wish you could have make people know you. Because you're clean-hearted youth, you're not bad mind. You said go build your own channel. Never draw back my channel and make you make money. Because you cannot put in work, so much work. And make me build a house out of you and me, because you can't have nothing. So you see me here, so. And my honesty bring me here. Me get sponsorship. Me be brand ambassador for companies. When me have friend them get my parent before me born. Me good work. What me do? Pay off. Me do more than politician in a Mountain View. No politician no build so much house there. Me build not only in a Mountain View, me build house. Me go different communities. Me go downtown. Me go this up. And when have a house in a center, and if the girl never name half the money, if the girl never eat half the money, can me tell her start it. And make me come back, come see so me can finish it. And she me talk buy big liquor, and I'm bigger man, bigger and do all kind of something. Me refurbish much people house. Miss Angela, she name Angela. Andrea, I remember what she name. She get a full house makeover. The Perrys them get a furniture night to get a full house makeover. Mr. Perry house is a brand new house, can strip it down from bottom to top. And all you can do, when you see people are sending their money to me, oh, she a scam. She a scam. And when she get money by X6, a donor's money. My YouTube check her time can buy me all 10 X6. I tell you that. I'm not a fool. You hear? I'm not sit down on YouTube and waste out my time. I get proper pay over there. My business, my cake, can buy me any amount of vehicle. I'm humble myself. I'm sit down. Big up me YouTuber over Portmore, make me know about YouTube. Him below so to me and say, I might, when we get black, we have to pick them out off of Facebook. And him tell me, ask me if he come in and say, I'm going to surprise me. Him said to me, say, my
Presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission in association with Scotiabank for Every Future. Kendall, the taste of quality.
Sagicor Group, building trust one generation at a time.
Flow, NCB, Arc Manufacturing, Water, JN Group, Lasco Chin Foundation, Pan Jamaica Group, Miss Birdie, H&L Homes, and VM Group. Watch, listen, decide, vote.
Welcome back to the Leaders Debate presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. We invite you, the public, again, to send us your questions via direct message on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to Jamaica Debates. We now ask Dion Jackson Miller to start this segment with a question for Dr. Andrew Holness.
To 21, you are appointed to the Queen's Privy Council, an ancient advisory body, and your administration's recent attempt at constitutional reform would have seen the removal of the British monarch from Jamaica's parliament and executive in phase 1, but not from our judiciary. Opposition or no opposition, referendum or not, can you tell us your position, whether you support the removal of the Privy Council as Jamaica's final court, and if so, when?
My position is that Jamaica should have its own local court as its final appellate court. But I also do respect the Caribbean Court of Justice, of which we are a part of its original jurisdiction. I will say, however, that on a matter as important as this, that forms the architecture of our nation, the people must be consulted. And that is why I put in place a process that would begin these consultations in a practical and phased basis, a process which has been thwarted by the opposition. Now, the leader of the opposition raises questions about democracy. On one hand, he does not want to consult. He wants the government to just act without consulting with the people, but then turns around and says that we are the ones undermining democracy. The leader of the opposition must be consistent. Democracy requires us to consult the people on these critical matters.
Mr. Golding?
Yes, Mr. Holness, shortly before the visit of Prince William to Jamaica, became a member of the King's Privy Council. So one has to wonder how he was choosing Jamaica when he did that. Anyway, to answer the question, we want to follow the Constitution, and the Constitution has been ruled by the Privy Council as the highest court as not requiring a referendum for the decision as to whether or not the CCJ should become the final court replacing the Privy Council. And that is what we think ought to be done. No other country that has moved away from the Privy Council has had a referendum to do so, and there are good reasons for that.
Our next question is from Giovanni Dennis, and it goes to Mr. Golding.
Mr. Golding, the PNP under your leadership has flip-flopped on a number of issues. For example, Julian Robinson on May 16, 2023 said the opposition takes no issue with the massive salary increase for parliamentarians. The very next day, the PNP released a statement objecting to the increase. Why should Jamaicans trust that you won't similarly make about turns on promises you are making now?
When Julian said that in Parliament, he was referring to the principle of parliamentarians getting an increase. He wasn't addressing the specifics of what was being proposed. We hadn't had a discussion around those specifics. When we looked at the details and we saw the massive increase that the Prime Minister was proposing for himself and for his ministers, we felt it was unconscionable to do that in the context where the public sector workers had just had their salary negotiations under some duress in relation to the teachers in particular, finalized, and many of them were getting 20% over 2 years. That is why we had to clarify our position, because it was not in accordance with what we thought that principle demanded. Now, over time, thinking can evolve. People change their positions on issues. So, for example, we are looking at this whole question of the 3.5 salary, the $3.5 million threshold increase. And we've seen where, as the debt target is achieved and resources can be released, it can be afforded. We weren't calling for 3.5 2 years ago, but we see that the need, inflation, etc., have happened. Cost of living pressures are there. Our evolution, our thinking has evolved, and we think that this is the right thing to do now, and we're committing ourselves to it. So, you know, I don't think the criticism is justified.
Thank you, Mr. Golding. Dr. Holness now has...
I have to call out that the leader of the opposition is telling lies. Julian Robinson stood in Parliament and said he supported the increase. Clear, and the tapes are there. Secondly, he calls the increase unconscionable, yet he takes it. I, Andrew Michael Holness, did not take it. The option was available to him as well. I chose not to take it. The leader of the opposition says, I have 28 bank accounts. That is absolutely not true. The report of the Integrity Commission includes accounts that are closed, accounts that are dormant, insurance accounts, and investment accounts.
Thank you.
They have weaponized
Thank you, Dr. Holness. Our next question is from Dion Jackson Miller, and it goes to Dr. Holness.
Dr. Holness, in your 2016 manifesto, you said, quote, will make it mandatory that the appointment to sensitive posts be approved by a 2/3 majority in each House of Parliament, thereby requiring consensus between government and opposition. Now, the posts identified included the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions. Not only did you not implement this, but you disregarded the opposition's objections in the case of the recent extension, which led to a court case. Wasn't this a betrayal of the principle of bipartisanship that you had been proposing 9 years before?
Absolutely not. And indeed, in some instances, there are parliamentary review of sensitive positions. And I want to be also very clear that the constitutional reform process that we have put in place would take into consideration all of these proposals that were made. We cannot tinker with the Constitution, doing a little thing here and a little thing there, and therefore we decided to put it in a comprehensive process, again which the opposition has thwarted. But since I have some time, let me also address some other issues about the leader of the opposition. In my own Integrity Commission report published in Parliament, there were no findings of corruption. All my assets are in Jamaica, and I have declared everything to the Integrity Commission. The leader of the opposition, however, also had a report from the Contractor General previously, which found that they benefited from public resources in an irregular way. They termed it a sweetheart deal. In my report, there is no such thing. None of my resources are ever connected to any public funds or any public resources. However, for the leader of the opposition, the report was very clear that their operations were considered to be irregular and a sweetheart.
Thank you, Dr. Holness. Mr. Golding has an opportunity to respond.
The Prime Minister has no interest in bipartisanship. He has strong dictatorial tendencies and really would prefer not to consult with the opposition at all if he didn't have to. And I say that based on my experience with him over the last 5 years. He talks about he didn't want to tinker with the Constitution. Then why did he seek to amend the Constitution as a one-off, tabling the bill and seeking to pass it on the same day to extend the DPP's tenure beyond what was constitutionally allowed? That was tinkering, Prime Minister, so come on. And in terms of Integrity Commission reports, my declarations have been certified every year as being proper. Yours have not, because you are under investigation for illicit enrichment.
Mr. Golding. Our follow-up question now, Dion Jackson has indicated she'd like to use the first of her follow-up questions.
On the same issue of the DPP's appointment, Principal Dr. Holness doesn't require constitutional amendments, though. And if it is that you were committed to the principle of bipartisanship, why would you have rejected such strongly worded opposition coming from the opposition leader?
At the end of the day, this matter was taken to the court, and the courts decided, and the DPP was reinstated. I want to also clarify something that the leader of the opposition said. The investigations carried out by the Integrity Commission are at an end. I am not currently under any investigation. There were no findings of corruption or charges. The leader of the opposition continues to try to weaponize these things because that is the only crutch he has to stand on. I, Andrew Holness, am thoroughly transparent.
Thank you, Dr. Holness.
Thank you, Dr. Holness.
Mr. Golding has the opportunity to respond.
Again, Andrew Holness is being disingenuous and tricky. The Integrity Commission referred his matters to the Financial Investigations Division, a law enforcement agency charged with investigating serious financial crimes, for further investigation. What was his response? When there was a vacancy at the head of it, he sought to appoint or influence the appointment of somebody who is his close personal friend and who had said publicly on nationwide radio that he didn't see anything wrong in the report on Mr. Holness's financial situation, the Integrity Commission's report. It was clearly a set-up job, and we feel that very strongly that this needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Mr. Golding. Our next question is from social media. I'm going to hand over to Amoy.
Malik on Facebook says many Jamaicans feel the economic growth that's been reported hasn't lowered their grocery bills or electricity costs. How do you measure economic success beyond the statistics?
Dr. Holness has the opportunity to respond first.
The first measure is income. And 280,000 jobs have been created in Jamaica, which means that more Jamaicans have income. There is a rise in income. Let's look at the minimum wage. The Jamaica Labour Party government has tripled the minimum wage. So there are more Jamaicans earning more at the lower levels of our country. Further, access to basic amenities. 350,000 Jamaicans have access to potable water, and in our next term, we will ensure that the 900,000 Jamaicans which now don't have reliable or full access to water will have access to water. Transportation, public transportation. We have done an amazing job in reducing bus fares and increasing the convenience and efficiency of public transportation, including implementing a rural bus fare system. On electricity, we have reduced the GCT on electricity, a promise made by the previous government and not kept. We have done it in a sustainable way. But more importantly, we have not placed any new taxes on the people of Jamaica since our government has been managing the fiscal affairs of this country.
Mr. Golding has an opportunity to respond.
First of all, I think the question is sound because statistics don't tell the full picture. Jamaica's competitiveness has been falling, yet they say that we have record low unemployment. Several 100,000 Jamaicans are outside the labour force and are not measured for that purpose. And indeed, you're regarded as being employed if you're employed 1 hour a week. 55% of Jamaicans are suffering from food insecurity. That is what the United Nations says, the FAO, which is an agency of the UN, says. 55% of Jamaicans are not getting adequate nutrition. That is not consistent with prosperity or low poverty rates or low unemployment rates. As for transportation costs, those are extremely high for many Jamaicans, which is why we want to introduce the RIDE program, a subsidy for rural children to help them to get to school in an affordable way. It's $10,000 per child who needs it in each family. So if you have more than one child, each one of them would qualify for this, because we recognize that that is one of the causes of absenteeism in schools at the moment. As for electricity, the rate and cost of electricity under this government has gone way higher than where we left it at 23 cents per kilowatt hour. Now it's over 40. And as for the GCT, they are providing a subsidy at the moment, but they haven't said for how long, and there's no commitment to keep it on.
Thank you, Mr. Golding. We are now going to be taking a short break, and we invite you to stay tuned.
The general elections debates are presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. Watch, listen, decide, vote.
Every generation brings new hopes and ambitions. For 55 years, Sagicor has been helping Jamaicans to realize their dreams. As we celebrate,
me get sponsorship, me be brand ambassador for companies. When me have friends them there before me born. Me good work. What me do? Pay off. Me do more than politician in a Mountain View. No politician build so much house there. Me build not only in a Mountain View, me build house, me go different communities. But me go downtown, me go there, and me have a house in a center, and if the girl never name half the money. If the girl never eat half the money, can me tell her start it. And make me come back, come see so me can finish it. And she me buy big liquor, and me bigger man, bigger and do all kind of something. Me refurbish much people house. Miss Angela, she name Angela. Angela, I remember what she name. She get a full house makeover. The Perrys them get a furniture night to get a full house makeover. Mr. Perry house is a brand new house, can me strip it down from bottom to top. And all you can do, when you see people are send their money to me, oh, she a scam. She a scam. I wish she get money by X6, a donor's money. My YouTube check your time can buy me all 10 X6. I tell you that. I'm a fool. Yeah? I'm not sit down on YouTube and waste out my time. I get proper pay over there. My business, my cake. Can buy me any amount of vehicle. I'm humble myself. I'm sit down. Big up me YouTuber over Portmore. Make me know about YouTube. Him below so to me and say, I might, when we get black, we have to pick them out off of Facebook. And him tell me, ask me if he come in and say, I'm going to surprise me. He said to me, say, my lady, I'm not going to let my house, I'm build over Elsha Heights a year. Contact me, use and build it and see that you can't make no money. Come over YouTube, big up yourself. And some know say, I wish you could have make people know you. Because you're clean-hearted youth, you're not bad mind. You said, go build your own channel. Never draw back my channel and make you make money. Because you cannot put in work, so much work. And make me build a house out of you and me, because you can't have nothing. So you see me here, so. And my honesty bring me here. Me get sponsorship. Me be brand ambassador for companies. When me have friend them get my parent before me born. Me good work. What me do? Pay off. Me do more than politician in a Mountain View. No politician no build so much house there. Me build not only in a Mountain View, me build house. Me go different communities. Me go downtown. Me go there so. And me have a house in a center and if the girl never name half the money. If the girl never eat half the money, can me tell her start it. And make me come back, come see so me can finish it. And she me buy big liquor and bigger man, bigger and do all kind of something. Me refurbish much people house. Miss Angela, she name Angela. Andrea, I don't remember what she name. She get a full house makeover. The Perrys them get a furniture night to get a full house makeover. Mr. Perry house is a brand new house, can strip it down from bottom to top. And all you can do, when you see people are send their money to me, oh, she a scam. She a scam. I wish she get money by X6, a donor's money. My YouTube check your time can buy me all 10 X6. I tell you that. I'm a fool. Yeah? I'm not sit down on YouTube and waste out my time. I get proper pay over there. My business
Are presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission in association with Scotiabank for Ever Future, Kendall, the taste of quality, Sagicor Group, building trust one generation at a time, Flow, NCB, Arc Manufacturing, Water, JN Group, Lascochin Foundation, Pan Jamaica Group, Miss Birdie, H&L Homes, and VM Group. Watch, listen, decide, vote.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Leaders' Debate presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. We invite you, the public, to send us your questions via direct message on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to Jamaica Debates. Now, this segment actually begins with a follow-up question. Giovanni Dennis has indicated that he'd like to ask one of his follow-up questions, and that goes to Dr. Andrew Holness.
Dr. Holness, on the matter of your government's hostility towards accountability institutions, in a world where journalists reporting on the conflict in Gaza are being murdered, the constant attacks on the press in Jamaica by both political parties undermine press freedom and has been reflected in Jamaica's slippage on the World Press Freedom Index. We have just seen the release of the names of journalists that both political parties objected to participating in the national debates. Why do both parties continue to undermine press freedom and put journalists in danger?
To be clear, my political party does not undermine press freedom. To be clear, my political party did not object. The objections came from the PNP. And historically, it is the PNP that has been vociferous, including attacking a particular radio station. I personally have stayed away from any negative commentary about any journalists. Journalists are important, and I support strong journalism. And I want to make that absolutely clear. In the time I have, I will rebut. I am in no way associated with the head of the FID. My understanding is that the head of the FID is a friend of the leader of the opposition.
Thank you, Dr. Holness. Mr. Golding has the opportunity to respond.
Press freedom is a fundamental pillar on which democracy is based, and I and my party fully support press freedom. The Prime Minister said something which was untrue when he said that only our side objected to some journalists. Their side also objected. In fact, we objected to 3, they objected to 4 journalists, and the matter was eventually resolved, and here we are. And the truth is that some journalists in the country are not as independent as others, are not as professional as others, and it is quite legitimate to criticize persons who you don't feel are living up to the standards of their profession. But we would never do anything to threaten or undermine press freedom, or indeed to make any journalist feel unsafe. And if it ever happens, we'll take out whatever it needs to stop it happening.
Thank you, Mr. Golding. Our next question is from Dion Jax-Miller, and it goes to Mr. Golding.
Mr. Golding, Coswell Barnett is a blind Jamaican who is also a very experienced and very qualified teacher, but who was out of a job for 4 years. Now, your manifesto promises to protect the right of persons with disabilities. Those Jamaicans are disproportionately affected by poverty. Vision 2030 says that governments haven't been living up to a reserve a percentage of public sector jobs for persons with disabilities. That would have helped people like Mr. Barnett and others like him. Would a PNP government implement such a recommendation?
Thank you for that question, Dion. I come from a family that has delivered transformational national service to the country, in particular in the area of persons with disabilities. My father was the first orthopedic surgeon in Jamaica, and he established what was then the Polio Center, became the Mona Rehabilitation Center. And when he died in 1996, it was named after him. It's now called the Sir John Golding Rehab Center. He also established the Hope Valley Experimental School, a school for integrated education for able-bodied and children with disabilities. 2 parliamentarians went to that school, and he established the National Road Safety Council, because of his awareness of the fact that many people who end up with disabilities is as a result of road traffic accidents. I am and we are very committed to implementing the UN Convention for the Persons with Disabilities, which Jamaica was the first country in the hemisphere to sign. And we are the ones who passed the Disabilities Act, brought it to Parliament. This government took 7 years to bring it into effect. We're glad it's in effect, but it needs to be actualized now in practice so that persons with disabilities feel and see the benefits of it. We are fully committed to that, and we are going to establish a National Disabilities Fund to aid persons with disabilities so that they can have their assistive aids, they can get help to establish themselves in business at home and improve sidewalks for their transportation. We are committed to the community of persons with disabilities.
Dr. Holness has the opportunity to respond.
To be clear, one of the things that I'm very proud of is that my administration has reserved under special orders through the NHT houses for persons with disability. They have a direct access. Under the new social housing program, we make it a point of duty to support persons with disabilities, and many persons with disabilities have benefited. Our administration have brought into effect the Disabilities Act. We continue to support the disabled community with grants and an increase in PATH benefits. Our government is committed to supporting persons with disability in Jamaica.
Dion Jax-Miller has indicated that she would like to take her second follow-up question.
Yes, Mr. Golding, we hear the broad statements of policy and principle, but what persons with disabilities want are jobs, which is why I'm asking specifically if your administration would implement a recommendation to reserve a certain percentage of public sector jobs for persons with disabilities.
Yes, we have committed to that. Across MD&As, ministries, departments and agencies, that we would like to see quotas or an allocation for the disability community to have the benefit of employment opportunities in the public sector. But we also recognize the need to ensure that those who have the capacity to deliver services or to make things at home are empowered to do so. And that's why we have the National Disabilities Fund, which we will establish to help them to get a start in life in the area of business and fulfill their talents and monetize their talents so they can uplift themselves and their families from their homes. So yes, we're fully on board with the idea that you mentioned, Jan.
Dr. Holness, to rebut.
Most definitely. We will do that, and we will do more. In fact, at the Office of the Prime Minister, we do make it a point of duty to ensure that persons with disabilities are employed at the Office of the Prime Minister, and we will give that directive, if it is not already in effect, to all the ministries. But more than that, people with disabilities want to be independent, and they want to work independently, many of them. And we, through various initiatives, including through the various development funds that we have, will provide resources to persons with disability so that they can start their own businesses. And I think that is really the critical thing, to ensure that our persons with disability are independently earning income.
Our next question still goes to Dr. Holness, and it comes from Giovanni Dennis.
Dr. Holness, communities like Charlemont, Birdsucker, Acadia, and many others across the corporate area have complained and have taken the government to court for inadequately regulated developments. Justice Hart Hines, in a 2021 ruling, said the KSAMC and NEPA have been dilatory in their mandate to enforce local planning laws and regulations. In December 2021, he said work was being done to restructure the entire approval process. Yet the issues persist. Why isn't more being done to force the KSAMC and the NEPA to do their jobs to enforce the building regulations?
When that comment was made, the situation was as you have said. Since then, there have been significant improvement in enforcement, and including a new planning order for Kingston and St. Andrew, which clarifies many of the issues that were in contention, including we have included more inspection officers at the KSAMC, and there are more cases now being brought to court which are being prosecuted. So there has been an improvement. However, I believe that there is still much more work to be done in terms of increasing the enforcement capabilities. And yes, there are some legislative changes that need to be clarified, particularly as to how titles are issued and how densities are approved.
Mr. Golding has the opportunity to respond.
Since the People's National Party assumed the leadership in the Council of the KSAMC, the new Mayor Andrew Swaby has been pursuing internal governance reform, including persons from outside, to try and improve standards and processes, make them more transparent and effective, so that the citizens of the corporate area can expect higher levels of governance. I think it's unfortunate that in the case of Mr. Holness and his wife, they are in the business of real estate development, or certainly she is, and that presents serious conflicts of interest which have manifested themselves in some of their own schemes that they have developed. I think we need to have rules which preclude that kind of activity so that there's no question of conflicts of interest.
We've come to the point in the debate when the debaters get an opportunity to ask each other questions. We begin. We invite Mr. Golding to ask a question of Dr. Andrew Holness.
Mr. Holness, the Integrity Commission, in their court filing in the case that you brought to try and strike down the act and eliminate the offence for which you are being investigated, have said that you had money in the Ponzi scheme Olint and you got it out, while others suffered losses. You had money in Cash Plus, another Ponzi scheme where people lost lots of money, you got it out. And of course, you had money in SSL, and you were able to withdraw your money before it collapsed. In fact, I would say the only person that Usain Bolt has not been able to catch up with is you. And I want to ask you, how do you think and why do you think the people of Jamaica should trust you to be in charge of the governance of the country for a third term with that track record and with that cloud hanging over your head?
The leader of the opposition is a liar and cannot be trusted. I lost money in Cash Plus and Olint. However, the PNP accepted and received $1 million from Olin. He has no credibility to talk about Ponzi scheme. They benefited from the Ponzi scheme to fund their election campaign. He questions my wife's integrity about development. My wife and my family are hard-working Jamaicans. We started off with taxes like many other Jamaicans, and I have worked hard. He has sought to weaponize that. But the people who receive me when I go into the country, they say, Andrew, don't worry. No weapon formed against you shall prosper.
Mr. Golding, your rebuttal.
I made the point that for the Prime Minister and his wife to be in the real estate business when so many of the agencies of government which regulate that business fall under his ministry of economic development and job creation creates the possibilities for conflicts of interest, and I stick by that position.
We now invite Dr. Andrew Holness to ask a question of Mr. Mark Golding.
The leader of the opposition speaks about integrity and trust. He was an advisor to a former Minister of Finance that put in place a policy of high interest rate, for which he acted as a broker for the government to invest loans and bonds for which he received a commission of high interest rate, to the point where one of his members described this as the greatest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich. He, the Toponaris lawyer, has made billions of this, yet he does not disclose this in his integrity report. In fact, he doesn't even have a house in Jamaica. How can we believe you? And do you have assets in overseas companies for which you have not disclosed?
I've disclosed all my assets, and that's why my Integrity Commission declarations are certified. Your allegations are scurrilous and false. You made reference to DBNG, although you didn't call the name. DBNG was established in 1992 as an investment firm by 3 young Jamaican entrepreneurs. When the financial sector meltdown occurred some years later, and FinSAC was established as a response to try and protect the savers of this country so they didn't lose their money in their deposits in the banking system and their pensions and so on, DBNG, like other financial firms at the time, had to navigate that carefully to survive. We eventually were approached by a leading international bank, Scotiabank, who did a thorough due diligence on the company. It's a listed company. We were a listed company from inception. Our audited financial statements are public. Our quarterly financial statements are public. They looked at us inside out and upside down, found nothing, absolutely nothing untoward, and they bought the company. And we have nothing to hide on when it comes to DBNG. I would say, why is your government, having spent $200 million on this Commission of Inquiry into FinSAC, hiding the FinSAC report? Is it because you and your wife bought a house from somebody who had been FinSAC'd? You're a hypocrite, Andrew Holness, to be accusing me of anything in relation to FinSAC when you have been a direct beneficiary of the losses of somebody who was FinSAC, who lost their home because of FinSAC.
Again, you go to attacking my wife when you, according to the Contractor General's report, benefited from a sweetheart deal that was irregular. You benefited off the backs of the Jamaican people in creating your wealth. You were a connected party with the then Minister of Finance, and you advised and created the FinSAC debacle with high interest rate. You benefited from FinSAC. I did not purchase a FinSAC house. I bought a house on the open market. And again, you come with weaponized lies. Your lies will not work.
We now go to closing statements. Now, based on the earlier coin toss, Mr. Mark Golding of the PNP will go first.
The general election next week, Wednesday, presents a historic opportunity for the people of Jamaica. After 13.5 years of belt-tightening and austerity, we are finally in a situation where the debt-to-GDP ratio has achieved or is on the cusp of achieving the 60%, which was written into the fiscal rules by Portia Simpson Miller. That means that the fiscal rules and prudent economic management can change gear and look at how we can grow the economy and build a society with a better quality of life for all. We see some serious issues that need to be addressed. 700,000 Jamaicans or thereabouts live on public land, lands where they've built their homes, but they don't have titles. The colonial era law set the period as 60 years of occupation before they can get ownership. We are going to reduce that to 25 years. We're going to give them titles. And that is going to unlock over $1 trillion of wealth, which is now sealed up and quarantined in the old colonial era law that is still on the books. That is why also we're increasing the threshold to 3.5 million, so working families who are struggling to make ends meet can get a little break so they can live a better life. It's why we're going to be removing the tax from the overtime pay of workers earning up to $6 million, so they can make it easier in life as well. And when I govern the country as Prime Minister to serve you, I will ensure that accountability and transparency are at the center of what we do, and any hanky-panky, any violation of the public trust will be met with the full force of the law with no protection from me. And that is a huge difference between the government I will lead and the government of Andrew Holness. That is why I'm asking you, on Election Day, next Wednesday, vote for the People's National Party, put your ex beside the head, time come for a better life.
We now invite Dr. Andrew Holness of the JLP to go ahead with your closing statement.
The administration that I lead on your behalf has cut the debt in half. We have created 280,000 new jobs, brought in 85,000 persons into the labour force. We have tripled the minimum wage. We have cut murders by 55% over the last 3 years. You have had no new taxes to worry about. This administration has taken on the previously thought of impossible to solve problems, and we have solved them. We are an administration of performance. In our next term, our pensioners who have worked so hard will get a break. Those earning $6 million or below will pay no income tax. We will give a new income tax rate, which will be graduated, which will see everyone paying lower taxes. You will see 60,000 more houses being brought on the market, with 15% of them dedicated to young people. We will give incentives to developers to build houses for young people. You will see a new transportation system for rural school children coming into being. You will see more work being done on reducing electricity. Our government is a government of performance. This election is about a clear choice. Promise or performance. That's what it is. You have to make a decision. Who can deliver? It is this administration that has taken on the difficult problems, and we have delivered for you. I ask you on Election Day to vote for what is best for Jamaica. Vote for a government that performs. Vote for the Jamaica Labour Party.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Holness. Thank you, Mr. Golding. In the good spirit of the debates, we now invite Dr. Holness and Mr. Golding to shake hands. And now we can breathe. That concludes the debate between Party Leader Dr. Andrew Holness, representing the Jamaica Labour Party, and Party Leader Mr. Mark Golding, representing the People's National Party. Our sincere thanks to both party leaders and all the debaters. This was the final debate in the 2025 General Election Debate Series. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to our studio audience, our production crew, production and funding partners, and most of all, our viewers and listeners all across Jamaica and the diaspora. I am Archibald Gordon. Good night.
Me get sponsorship. Me be brand ambassador for companies. When me a friend then get my parent before me born. Me good work. What me do? Pay off. Me do more than politician in a Mountain View. No politician no build so much house there. Me build not only in a Mountain View, me build house, me go different communities. But me go downtown, me go Deso, and me have a house in a center and if the girl never name half the money. If the girl never eat half the money, can me tell her start it. And make me come back, come see so me can finish it. And she me to buy big liquor and yam bigger man, bigger and do all kind of something. Me refurbish much people house. Miss Angela, she name Angela. Angela, I remember what she name. She get a full house makeover. The Perrys them get a furniture night to get a full house makeover. Mr. Perry house is a brand new house, can me strip it down from bottom to top. And all you can do, when you see people are send their money to me, oh, she a scam. She a scam. How will she get money by X6, a donor's money? My YouTube check your time can buy me all 10 X6. I tell you that. I'm a fool. Yeah? I'm not sit down on YouTube and waste out my time. I get proper pay over there. My business, my cake. Can buy me any amount of vehicle. I'm humble myself. I'm sit down. Big up me YouTuber over Portmore, make me know about YouTube. Him below so to me and say, I might, when me get black with rat to pick them out off of Facebook. And him tell me, ask me if he come in and say, he go surprise me. Him said to me, say, my lady, me not tell them also me bill over Elsha Heights a year. Contact me use and bill it and see that you can't make no money. Come over YouTube, big up yourself. And so I know say, yeah, I wish you could have make people know you. Because you're clean-hearted youth, you're not bad mind. You said go build your own channel. Never draw back my channel and make you make money. Because you cannot put in work, so much work. And make me build a house out of you and me, because you can't have nothing. So you see me here, so. And my honesty bring me here. Me get sponsorship. Me be brand ambassador for companies. When me a friend then get my parent before me born. Me good work. What me do? Pay off. Me do more than politician in a Mountain View. No politician no build so much house there. Me build not only in a Mountain View, me build house. Me go different communities. But me go downtown. Me go Deso. And me have a house in a center and if the girl never name half the money. If the girl never eat half the money, can me tell her start it. And make me come back, come see so me can finish it. And she me to buy big liquor and yam bigger man, bigger and do all kind of something. Me refurbish much people house. Miss Angela, she name Angela. Angela, I remember what she name. She get a full house makeover. The Perrys them get a furniture night to get a full house makeover. Mr. Perry house is a brand new house, can me strip it down from bottom to top. And all you can do, when you see people are send their money to me, oh, she a scam. She a scam. How will she get money by X6, a donor's money? My YouTube check your time can buy me all 10 X6. I tell you that. I'm a fool. Yeah? I'm not sit down on YouTube and waste out my time. I get proper pay over there. My business, my cake, can buy me any amount of vehicle. I'm humble myself. I'm sit down. Big up me YouTuber over Portmore, make me know about YouTube. Him below so to me and say, I might, when we get black with rat to pick them out off of Facebook. And him tell me, ask me if he come in and say, he go surprise me. Him said to me, say, my lady, me not tell them also me bill over Elsha Heights a year. Contact me use and bill it and see that you can't make no money. Come over YouTube, big up yourself. And so me know say, yeah, I wish you could have make people know you. Because you're clean-hearted youth, you're not bad mind. You said go build your own channel. Me go draw back my child and make you make money. Cause you cannot put in work so much work and make me build a house out of you and me cause you can't have nothing. So you see me here so. And my honesty bring me here. Me get sponsorship. Me be brand ambassador for companies. When me a friend them they prepare before me born. Me good work. What me do? Pay off. Me do more than politician in a Mountain View. No politician no build so much house there. Me build not only in a Mountain View, me build house, me go different communities. But me go downtown, me go there so, and when we have a house in a center and if the girl never name half the money. If the girl